everyone to the inaugural episode of Drive Every Ferrari, the special mini-series that sits within the Car Guys main channel. And the aim is to drive every major variant of every Ferrari ever created. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's got in touch after my launch episode. I've had an enormous number of you contact me, as well as some dealers getting in touch in order to pledge cars, and I've had over 30 pledged to me so far. So thank you so much for helping to give Drive Every Ferrari the best start possible. This week, to kick off episode 1, I have this magnificent beast. This is a 1971 Ferrari 365 GTB/4, which has been converted into a Spider. Original right-hand drive Spiders are rare as hen's teeth, but this is relatively affordable. And of course, the whole aim of Drive Every Ferrari is that I'm going to get to drive this car out on the road, and you're going to come along too. And in a future episode, you'll see me drive this car as well. So let's get Drive Every Ferrari off to the best possible start. Let's get in this car and take it out for a drive. Sound like your special kind of vodka? Mine too. Let's get on with it. So here it is then. This episode of Drive Every Ferrari is about this piece of Ferrari 60s perfection. This is a 365 GTB/4, which has been converted into a Spider. When it came to the first place to come to kick off the series, who else would it be other than the Octane Collection and Fast Classics, a dealership that we've had many close relationships with in the past and have lent us some truly incredible cars. And I couldn't help but notice that they had these two babies sat in their showroom. This particular model of the 365 GTB Daytona was made in 1971. As you can see, it's in Rosso Corsa, the classic Ferrari colour, and tan leather interior with wonderful Daytona sport seats with contrasting black stripes. This car was converted by its fourth owner into a Spider. It was originally a full-on coupe, but he decided to chop off the roof and turn it into one of the more coveted Spider models, officially called a 365 GTS/4 by Ferrari. The only downside of doing that, of course, is that it does not have the extra structural rigidity of the official Ferrari Spiders, and also, as a consequence, it is worth a lot less. Official right-hand drive versions of GTS Spiders are in the millions, but this car right here, just under $500,000. The first thing to say is what a beauty. This is an incredibly elegant, swoopy Grand Tourer. The 365 GTB/4 Berlinetta was first unveiled at the 1968 Paris Auto Show as the successor to the mighty 275 GTB. It was a front-engined, rear-wheel drive Grand Tourer that featured the same Colombo V12 as the 365 California. Styling was handled by Leonardo Fioravanti, who also did the Dino. Those first cars had plexiglass headlight covers, which is how you can tell the early cars. In 1969, Ferrari launched the Spider version, the 365 GTS/4, which had to be considerably structurally modified by Carrozzeria Scaglietti and Ferrari to compensate for the loss of the roof. Here is the last official Spider built in 1973 when it was offered for sale by William Loughran. That colour, incidentally, is Oro Chiaro. Quite unusual, isn't it? Production lasted just 5 years, in which time it's thought that 1,400 365 GTB4s were produced, 156 right-hand drive coupes, and just 7 factory-produced right-hand drive Spiders. And with such a limited production, it's no surprise that some of the coupes were converted into the roofless version. And just look at it, one of the most beautiful Ferraris, long, elegant, powerful. It's got it all. You can imagine this in the sunshine in Saint-Tropez or Monaco, just like that. Look how it's transformed when you go from the fabric roof to roofless. how sleek it becomes. This is a 1971 car, and as you can see, it features the wire wheels that were on the show car, but were later replaced by the Campagnola alloys. Just look at how sleek and beautiful it is from the side. You've got this crease here, which runs right from the front wheel arch all the way to the back of the car. It just gives it such a purposeful stance. Here you can see the curvature of this door, which makes the car look like it's moving even when it's standing still. You've got coil springs, independent double wishbones and telescopic dampers on all sides. You've got quite a bit of chrome. After all, this was the 60s and 70s. And the thing that dominates the Daytona experience is, of course, that swooping long bonnet, which houses that Colombo V12. And here it is. This honey of an engine is a 4.4 litre naturally aspirated V12 Colombo engine. The successor to the 275, 4.4 litres equates to 365 cc per cylinder with 24 valves and 6 twin Weber or Solex carburetors. Remember, the Daytona name is not official Ferrari. It was merely nicknamed that after Ferrari's success at the Daytona 24 Hours in America. The only time Ferrari has adopted that name is, of course, with the very latest Daytona SP3 Icona series. Finally, Daytona becomes official. I love the way that you've got these enormous steel exhaust pipes which stick out at the back of the car and obviously help to give the car its glorious V12 sound. And just look how pretty the rear end of the car is. Lots of chrome again, but you've got these quad lights at the back, and the boot space, because this is a Grand Tourer, is actually pretty reasonable. You could easily get a suite of suitcases in there for your trip to Saint-Tropez. But of course, this is where it gets seriously stylish. The Italians managed to do car interiors better than anyone else. And it is no different with the 365 GTB. I am sat in beautiful plush leather. I've got an enormous center console, lots of space. This truly does feel like a car you could cross continents in. I've got chrome door handles. I've got chrome window surrounds. I've got an enormous steering wheel with the Ferrari horse in the middle. A great big jukebox of dials ahead of me. On the left, we've got the fuel gauge, then the speedo. In the center, we've got water temperature, oil pressure. We've also got the battery charge level, huge rev counter on the right hand side, and of course a clock, so you can tell how quickly you managed to get through the south of France. Inside the cabin, we've got, of course, what feels like a Bakelite tipped handbrake, manual gearbox, of course, with a first gear in dogleg position, so make sure you don't put it into where you normally think first is, because you'll select reverse. Right in the center, we've got these great period air conditioning controls, and above those, again, some fabulous Bakelite tipped switches which help you select hazard warning lights and fog lights, and you can control where the air goes in the cabin. The seats are in a permanently reclined position because, of course, why wouldn't you? You're going to be relaxed. And I absolutely love the piped leather effect in the doors. So I've got swathes of leather everywhere. It feels distinctly 60s in here. I've got chrome glinting all over the place. It's definitely a 60s designed Ferrari. But of course, the main difference, there's no roof. And open-top Ferraris are some of the greatest cars in the world. But I think that's enough history in looking around the car. It's time to drive it. This is, after all, Drive Every Ferrari. So here I am then. This is genuinely my first drive in a 365 Daytona Ferrari. Of course, it's a Spider, or at least a chopped coupe. But now we get to discover, how does this thing drive? Does it drive like a lorry, like most people say? What are the brakes like? And just how does it feel driving something this stylish? So first thing you need to know is the steering is ridiculously heavy. It's non-assisted and it's a big old car. It weighs supposedly 1,200 kilograms dry, but I'm thinking it's probably with fluids more like 1,500 kilograms. The gear lever is sort of canted over towards the driver, which makes getting into second from the dog leg first quite tricky, as I've just found out.
What is without doubt, however, is the way this car makes you feel. You are driving an open-top 60s Ferrari. The sun is shining. Life is pretty good, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to complain too much. This is an incredible machine. It's big, don't get me wrong, it is very big. It's long, it's swoopy, it's powerful. It makes that kind of a noise. In front of me, I've got a huge slab of gauges. Everything looks pretty good. Everything is as it should be. Water temperature is good. Oil temperature is still a little bit low. Oil pressure's good. Battery is good. We've got some fuel. I've got these wonderful Bakelite-esque switches all around the cabin. But it is such a stylish place to be. But I think this is what the Drive Every Ferrari series is all about. It's me experiencing these cars that I've heard about but not yet driven for the first time and relaying to you exactly how they feel. And hopefully at the end of it, however long it's going to be, we'll have this big record of Ferraris being driven through all ages by a single person. So one viewpoint. But you do have to remind yourself constantly that this car is over 50 years old. It's older than I am by 1 year. And let me tell you, I feel pretty old. Oh yeah, oh, that steering is not fun at low speeds. You've got these trumpet-like exhausts stuck out the back. And that's sort of all you can hear, really. There isn't a huge amount of buffeting, which is quite nice. And this is, although this car can, of course, do well over 170 miles an hour, that's not really where the secret lies. The secret is in cruising on high-quality roads. If ever there was a south of France or a California car, this is it, my friends, this is it. It's always special looking out over these sort of old dials as well. These ones are Veglia Borliettis, which are the same ones that I've got in my 355. And it's just such an incredible historic view. The view of film stars and rock stars. This is a car that, if anything, can be described as a rock star's car. Gear change once it's warmed up is actually quite pleasurable. Once you've got your head around the fact that everything's kind of slanted over, it slips into gear quite well. Steering does lighten up as you gain speed, but the thing that's really impressive is it just feels so stable. Because it's got such a good long wheelbase, it just feels really planted. So you can now understand why people were able to attain those top speeds. It's a real planted, solid place to be. Oh, it's a big old struggle getting it around a corner. But since it's the car guys, you're going to want to know what beans feel like in a car like this. So let's find out. Oh, the noise is good. Oh yeah, I'm not too confident on the corners on here, so I'm not going to thrash it around here because I don't truly know if we're going to get round. But actually it's, you just have to pitch in, turn the wheel and settle it down before taking the corner. Oh. At these sort of speeds on British B roads, the Daytona does make quite a lot of sense. Oh yes. It really does transform the experience having the roof off this car. We can kind of understand why that fourth owner decided to do it. I'd imagine the coupe is actually a little bit claustrophobic and not quite as special. This sort of thing is all about grandstanding, it's all about peacocking and showing off. One point I will make though is that the stalk for the indicators gives you no indication whether it's on or not, so I'm pretty sure I've had the indicators on the whole time. So I probably do have to confirm that indeed at low speeds, these cars are a bit of a handful. They are a bit of a truck. Very heavy steering. That wheelbase, the way the wheels are there, the size of them, it does make it a real chore to turn this thing around and to maneuver it. And obviously today, having been filming with it, we've had to do quite a bit of that. But once you're up and running, once you've got a bit of speed, once you've got a bit of heat into the car, it does feel glorious. I'm not sure I want one, but it is a lovely car. And in this age where people are all going electric and talking about the death of the petrol engine, there is something so fantastically anarchistic about driving something like this down a lane, engine burbling, exhaust wailing. It doesn't get better than this, does it? But if ever there was a car to be driving and get thumbs up from literally every other driver, this is it. The whole point of Drive Every Ferrari is to really reassess all of these cars from an ultra-modern perspective and just decide exactly what they're like to drive on today's roads, in today's traffic, and having driven so many other modern Ferraris. That, I think, is what's going to be special about this series. Many of the cars which I discounted or were never interested in, I'm actually really excited to drive. And now I think it's time to take it back to the Octane collection and let our insurance companies breathe a sigh of relief.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Car Guys Presents Drive Every Ferrari. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining. And I hope you found out a lot more about this wonderful 365 GTB4. If you like what we're doing on The Car Guys, please subscribe, leave comments and likes. There'll be another episode next week.